Not raining, so that's a good sign. And we're going to talk today about kind of charting a path forward. I am going to assume that many of you have an IT background, but some of you may be business stakeholders, business users, or owners of Office 365 or M365 in your environment. So I'm going to talk about a few things that you should be thinking about at a higher level, and then I want to demo some resources that are available for you from some of our sites so that you'll be able to, kind of face this challenge. We have a lot going on right now, as everybody is well aware of. And, the most important thing is that the technology is not the point. And yes, I'm a Microsoft employee. Yes, obviously you're all here because you have interest or responsibility around Microsoft products. But now more than ever, whether you're an IT professional, an adoption specialist, or business user, it's extremely important that we focus on our employees, putting them first and enabling them to do work from wherever they are. The pandemic equalized all of us in many respects. In having to do rapid deployments and work remotely very quickly, as we did over a year ago, we all had to kind of come to terms with our level of proficiency, with the tools that we had around us, and what kind of balance we really wanted in our life. And now we get to answer some of those questions as we slowly but surely return to what the future is going to be. It's really important for us to remember but some of the lessons that we learned in over these past months. And speaking for myself, I definitely learned a lot about the way that my brain operates. We've done a lot of research on this in terms of the back-to-back meeting cycle being incredibly unhealthy, things of that nature. But you're going to hear different executives across Microsoft talk about these broad swath reaching new trends. And I will happily talk about those things, but I really like to stay where the rubber meets the road. I really like to stay, how do we execute against these new trends? We're still, many of us, going to support this hybrid workforce with some people in our standard facilities and some folks not. The truth is, many of us, depending upon your industry, already had to support people who were field workers. We call them first line workers with better mobile experiences and what have you. And we didn't always do a good job of that previously. And so, now it's really important to lean into helping people have that positive mobile experience. And for me, I really want to focus on learning in the flow of work, learning where people are, because the days where I could it's pretty rare to get folks to come to a longer event experience like this. Now, the virtual events have been fantastic because they've also created so much inclusivity and access to knowledge. But many workers don't have time. If it's not their core job, if technology isn't their core job, they don't have time for that learning. So we have to find ways to help them in the course and the flow of their work. And we have a good, better, best model for that between Microsoft 365 Learning Pathways and the new Viva, Microsoft Viva workloads to accomplish that. So I want to share a little research with you, talk a little bit about some of those higher level items. Let me go ahead here and share my screen so that we can kick in. Okay, so I'm going to do this. And make sure I'm on the right slide is always helpful. Here we go. Okay. So hybrid work is here. That's exactly what I'm talking about. So whether you're an organization based in the United States or you're based more broadly around the world, some state of hybrid work is upon us. If you like hearing about these things, you can follow me there on Twitter or on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, I do publish a monthly newsletter about adoption, where we talk about these sorts of research topics, adoption tools, employee training, and employee productivity and well-being. So hope that you'll join us out there. And one of the things that I covered recently in one of those newsletters was the Work Trends Index, this 2021 annual report. I don't know if you've heard about it already during the course of this event, but it's really important that you take a moment to look at that information. We'll share the link with you, and it's available via my adoption newsletter. But But the real issue here that folks are taking a look at and that we've focused on in this work trends index, there's several, but the idea of balance, right, is that one of the things that we're looking at. And we've surveyed over 30,000 people in 31 countries to make sure that we had a good, proper sampling of data. And, people are very, they're mixed on their comfort level about returning to work. One thing to remember is if, as people return to the workplace, they may also feel some anxiety about being back in the workplace. Some people will feel a sense of relief, but other people may feel a sense of anxiety. I bring up anxiety and the state of mind of our employees because when people are in a stressed state or a state that has underlying anxiety, neurologically, they have difficulty learning. They cannot retain new information. The brain must be in a relaxed and therefore receptive state to retain new information. And we often don't take that into account. We bring people back and we start telling them about how things are going to be different. Their processes are different. They still have to social distance. Maybe they booking conference rooms may be different. And we're expecting them to take this barrage of information in, while they're also navigating their psychological and emotional response to coming back into the workplace or the ongoing change that we're all dealing with. As leaders in this space, it's important that we know better. It's important that we deliver information in small bite-sized chunks. It's important that we create reference information by using SharePoint and other tools so people can look up things when they forgot what Sally told us about how to book that conference room. Right. And so we really have to be mindful of the psychological and neurological state of employees and also our customers. Our customers are going through this as well. Right. And so we have to come from a leadership space of empathy so that we can ultimately more quickly realize efficiencies and the business outcomes that we're driving for. So a lot of great information in this study. I hope that you lean in and take a look at that. And actually, I'm just going to put this here in the chat. Can. AK.MS Adoption News, I referenced this research and you'll be able to find it. By the way, as I'm talking through things, if something I say doesn't make sense or you have a question, please put it in chat. As far as I'm concerned, you can come off mute and ask a question. Interactive conversation is always better. So absolutely welcome your feedback and your comments as we go along. So 80% of those managers expect more flexible work from home arrangements. 73% of employees want flexibility. Many people, because of childcare or physical space limitations, do want to come back into the actual physical work facility. But many of them simply want more flexibility about when they do that. But 67% of folks also want more in-person work or collaboration post-pandemic. I applaud you all for coming to this virtual event, but many people are really tired of seeing each other on a little screen. And so this virtual engagement that we do will continue to happen. We even at Microsoft, we know that we'll continue to have a virtual element to many of our conferences and much of our learning activity going forward. But we still need to support, especially in local regions, the physical event. Nothing replaces being able to actually get together in a room and talk with each other and have the social connectedness that occurs there. So as managers and leaders and IT professionals in this space, we have to balance these three and a little bit competing realities. At Microsoft, what we're doing is we're allowing people to work 50% from home with no approval from their manager. So it's up to that employee to make sure that they're keeping that balanced. Obviously, productivity we have found does not wane from people working at home. That old myth that things are going you weren't going to do work if you were not in the physical location is over. So we know that to be true. So as we go forward, we need to think about embracing flexibility, prioritizing the employee experience. And in a way, this can make our portfolio prioritization from an IT perspective a lot simpler. Right? We have to think about security and governance and compliance. And I believe that great governance is is required for great adoption. And so, making sure that you're taking advantage of events like today, but also our content on Microsoft Learn to really polish up your rapid deployment of Microsoft Teams or Microsoft 365. Many of you may never have done a good policy check. If you're not using multi-factor authentication, I beg of you, please do it now. Use our data and AI tools in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center to scan for various leaks and patterns of data like social security numbers and what have you to really secure your environment. But think very, very hard on being in the way of the team provisioning process. And I say this because any friction that we as IT professionals create for people to get to the tools that they need, they will simply go around us. And that's how shadow IT gets created. And shadow IT today is a very dangerous proposition. It can be very, very difficult to manage, and it can leave your environment and your data open to some of the types of threats and hacks and ransomware and things of that nature that we've seen over time. So if you want to manage the provisioning of Teams and SharePoint sites and the like, do so without approvals, but just use a form and gather some data. And there's awesome MVPs. There's content that I've created. There's a whole workshop on Microsoft 365 governance that you can use. And if you have some of our advanced features, you can really do great lifecycle management. Lifecycle management will allow you to, automatically archive and delete teams that no longer are being used. And that's how you'll keep your environment healthy and control sprawl. But embracing flexibility and prioritizing the employee experience means really using the technology to implement policy instead of making the employee do it for you. Right? By waiting and having to request something and waiting 2 days for it, like that just doesn't work anymore. And it's not going to work and serve you in the future. And so we really want folks to have access to the information that will allow you to think about the people, the space, and the technology that you're using to address this new day. And as I said, all three of these things have changed. The expectation and the psychological state of your people has changed. Your physical space has new requirements now in terms of maybe continuing social distancing, integrating in with meeting conference room technology differently. We saw that. I was watching the highlight from one of our sponsors. That's great stuff, really innovative stuff coming out of our Microsoft partner space right now and our MVPs. And so, there's no shortage of ways to leverage space differently and to implement technology differently. What's going to be necessary is for you to put together, a hybrid work or return to work kind of playbook. And this playbook has the priorities that your organization needs to embrace based on your business segment. I do a lot of work in government and also in nonprofit. What they need is different than what I do with my commercial customers. The size that you may be also matters. Are you worldwide? Are you in one particular region? Do you have customers who are worldwide, but your facility and operations are in one location? All of these things matter as you go through and think about how to create this returning playbook. And I know that there's lots of folks in your particular area, especially in the MVP community and with our own staff, who can help you create that, thinking through these things. Now, I would be remiss as a Microsoft employee if I didn't have a slide that focused on resources. And I actually like to do these a little bit more towards the top of what I'm sharing because, there's a lot of stuff out there. I remember being a customer of Microsoft and having a folder on my desktop of all the links I needed to remember. So I'm really trying to work to minimize that by the creation of adoption.microsoft.com. And I'm going to show you some brand new resources out there in just a moment. But for these types of topics, as well as training and adoption guides and scenarios, adoption.microsoft.com is where you need to go. We're really working to make this the one-stop shop across industries, segments, and products. And we've already consolidated 16 different locations of data into this one site, and we're going to keep going. So Definitely use collections in Edge. That's a really good idea, actually. So here's a collection for you in Edge so that you can pull all this together. But adoption.microsoft.com is where we're doing the work to pull these resources together. And also, we have an ongoing free training program that we have called our Worldwide Champions Community. And that's where people who are accountable for driving adoption can come and join and get free training and assets that you can use in your own organization to drive usage. And I know Michelle and some other folks I see on this call definitely come to our monthly calls. It's a lot of fun. I love the people there. We try to give you heads up on information in that community, before blog posts go out and things of that nature. And so if any of you out there are accountable for driving adoption, I would encourage you very much to join our free community and our driving adoption blog, which is where we make announcements about new features, new content, and new capabilities. And then, of course, that link to our adoption news on LinkedIn. And on LinkedIn, I do tend to talk more about more strategic items like leadership focus, research, things of that nature. So these 4 experiences work together, and they're definitely designed to be useful to all of you. And if they're not, all you have to do is write me on LinkedIn and tell me what you need. Right? That's the deal. Like, go use all the free stuff we're creating, but you have to tell me what else you need so that we can build things that are actually useful to you in your day-to-day work of driving adoption and managing Microsoft 365 services. Which, I've done that. That's a hard job. And so it's important that you have our support in the process. All right, so let's keep going here a little. And Michelle, make sure maybe put in chat when I have a few minutes left, because I can get in the zone and forget.
You bet.
The time. Sure will. Thank you so much. All right. So over the course of the pandemic, what we know for sure is that the virtual meeting is super important. And so I want to talk a little bit about the modern meeting experience. The modern meeting experience incorporates personal devices, mobile access, meeting rooms, and more. But it also incorporates the human dynamics and elements of how we collaborate together, right? It's never been more important to have agendas in your meetings. It's never been more important to be inclusive and record your meetings so that they can be shared or viewed at other times. It's never been more important to be mindful that most meetings, not all, are better with, guest appearances of pets and children. Like, we just have to exhale a little bit about the way some of our meetings go. I've seen some folks get very, very stressed. Something happened in the background in the meeting. Stop apologizing about it. We've all had it happen. I've been on this little screen right here with literally thousands of people, and my dog started freaking out about the Amazon delivery, right? There's nothing I can do about that. And there's nothing any of us can do about that. So it's time to release our judgment and really lean into what is an effective meeting. Because you can be incredibly effective when you're building relationships with people, understanding the names of their dogs or their children, depending upon your business objectives. And so, effectiveness and polish are not the same thing. And I know that this depends very greatly on industry. Obviously, when I'm doing a presentation in banking and finance and government, I definitely have a jacket on, even from home. I definitely am more formal in my language, but my message remains the same. Even in government and banking and finance, people are people. And it's okay to understand that more differently than we have in the past. This reality of having our, let's go backward, share one just for a second here. This reality of having our work inside our home, it has broken a boundary that we have. So we now need to use the technology differently so that we can have these more immersive meetings. And we can see here, how Teams is really trying to rise to that challenge. Now, I'm going to be, super transparent with you. Over the course of the pandemic, we've had our challenges in the scale and speed of growth that we've had to accomplish. I have been in this business for 30 years, almost now 28 years, and I have never grown a service as rapidly as we had to grow Microsoft Teams this time last year. And we had some hiccups along the way. But now we've stabilized. Now what we're working on is really bringing more features into the space based on the feedback we've had in education and from all of you. So making sure that meetings can be more immersive, making sure that, let's see if I can get this to do what it's supposed to do. Here we go. So this little snippet video shows many of the features that we are, some of them are already released, like reactions and some of the noise suppression things and together mode, and some are coming soon, like the dynamic views of being able to pin me in front of or next to my content and things of that nature. But over the course of the next, I'll call it 4 or 5 months, many of these things are going to come to light. The job then is to make sure that your people are using the capabilities that exist. And that's why we have a new, and I'm going to switch my screen here and come over and to my demo environment here and show you a little something. This is why we've done some work to make sure that people have information about the new meetings. Oops, the video seemed, okay. Sorry, Teresa, the video was frozen for you? Okay. I'm going to share that video in my deck. So I'm sorry that you were able to see or hear that. I will share maybe a little bit differently and play that video again once I come back from my demo. But essentially what the video is showing you is about automatic noise suppression in Microsoft Teams, together mode, and different dynamic views where you can control how people are seeing the content and the presenter. And so, that's basically what we're going through. It's kind of a best hits of coming features in Microsoft Teams meetings. And so that is really all that is about. So now let me switch over here to my home. I'm going to change what I'm sharing. And let's go over here. And I want to keep this up and bring this over here. I can see all of you. Okay, you should be seeing a web browser at this point. Hopefully you are. Somebody can give me a thumbs up out there. That would be helpful. You should be seeing the home of adoption.microsoft.com. So as you come out here, what we've really focused on recently since Microsoft Ignite, so since March, is moving all our content into role by role. Of course, you can come and look at our products and get adoption and training content here, specifically for Microsoft Teams or SharePoint or OneDrive. That's certainly available. But we also know that people need to find things based on who they are. Are you a business user who's maybe just interested in learning more and doing more with Microsoft 365? Are you a champion who's actually a peer trainer and driving usage as champions do? Are you a developer or an IT professional? And we also make connections to the other primary websites across Microsoft. So you can come here and also get to where you should be as a developer or an IT professional. On our IT professional page, remember I was talking about governance? This is the link to all of the governance information that you need for Microsoft 365. And we've also integrated key top level links that you're going to need to continue to manage your implementation. we're going to be doing more here, more like what I'm going to show you for meetings and webinars. So getting the most out of meetings is a fundamental theme for us going forward. Yes, you're going to hear us all talk about Microsoft Viva and improvements in SharePoint and OneDrive and all these other things. But I encourage you to focus on really making employees in your environment experts at having productive meetings. As the cornerstone of hybrid work, this modern meeting experience, helping people really configure meetings and set them in a way that is actually working for their particular objective is really important. I've seen people want to do a roundtable session in a live event. Not the best choice because people can't come off mute and just ask their questions. There's no two-way engagement there except in the moderated chat. If you're going to do a roundtable, better to have a standard Teams meeting so that people can actually engage with you. So it's being able to select the technology options that we're giving you and align them to what you're trying to accomplish that's most important. So this new, this page that I'm going to, you can find this and other pages under products and under Microsoft Teams. We've got our custom background gallery, guidance for virtual events, this homepage about meetings and webinars, and then our link out to remote learning and education. So we'll continue to put things directly under the primary product that they are aligned to on this site, trying to play with the navigation a little bit and make this a little bit easier. So as you come in here, what you'll find is our first set of what we call one sheets. One sheets are on-demand web content that allows us to share with you some of the best practices for accomplishing a particular scenario. And we have a lot of this kind of scenario guidance across Microsoft, but nowhere that it can be kind of just easily accessed and printed or localized or copied and pasted into your particular slideware that you're using. And so we wanted to make sure that we started with something very common, a weekly status meeting. What are the best practices and the step-by-step guidance for that particular type of meeting that needs to be done. And this is not intended to replace support.microsoft.com. Obviously, you're going to get great information from support.microsoft.com. But sometimes in support, what they do is they focus on one product at a time. And for us in these scenarios, we'll be using multiple products, right? Recording actually uses SharePoint and OneDrive. And you have to have familiarity with that to be able to access or share that recording. Documents you may be sharing come from there also. I'll be adding one that's for an interactive workshop, and there we'll be using apps. So in these step-by-step guidance and the information that we're publishing here, we really want to focus on Microsoft 365 as a whole, right? And so to ensure that all of this can happen, we also have we will also be adding to these pages the IT policies that you need to have in place to actually do what we're suggesting. Most of these things require that you have, for instance, guest access enabled, that you are using OneDrive, we're making certain assumptions, and that you've turned on all the first-party apps that you need to get to in Microsoft Teams. I have seen implementations where people turned all of the apps off, including like OneNote and PowerPoint and things like that. I beg of you, stop doing that. You don't have to have all the apps that are available in our gallery, but make sure that you turn on those first-party apps like Tasks and all the Office apps and Forms and what have you, because when you turn that off, you're really hobbling what Teams is about. It is that organizing layer of your workday. It is that place where it's supposed to be the hub for teamwork. And to do that, you need to have all the other applications across Microsoft 365 enabled. Now, there's another way, another scenario here that I want to make sure to highlight, and that's our webinars that are rolling out now and will be available worldwide. By the end of May, I'll call it. Webinars are a Teams meeting with registration. And this changes so much and is so important because many people are using either third-party tools for webinars, and then they have to transition that data back into M365 to actually do work on it. And so there's a lot that's going on there. And this is, obviously our first foray into the webinar space, but I'm excited about it because it reduces the amount that I need to use live events. Right? Live events is a pretty formal experience, so I like to reserve that for maybe executive town halls, or things of that nature, or the public broadcasts that I do, things like that. Now, for the types of training webinars and things that I want to do, and other things that you need to do, you'll be able to use webinars to gather that registration information, run it as a Teams meetings with all the flexibility that we're building into Teams meetings and the new immersive meeting experience, and then take that data that lives in a CSV file in the SharePoint site that's associated with the particular webinar. And you can even transition that data into Dynamics 365 or other, marketing tools that you may use for a customer contact. I'm so excited about this because it makes it so easy to do the right thing and educate your own customers or your own employees, right? And keep track of who you're having contact with. So it's really important to think about how will webinars influence your business and the way that you invest in those people, embrace flexibility, and make sure that your customers know that you're there for them as well. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you. Now, when I go back here to this main meetings page, you'll also see that we have a whole section on digital events. Digital events, virtual events have become bread and butter for many of us. Many of us who used to spend time traveling around the world now do this, and that's great. And some of us actually produce these events. I am a virtual event producer as well. One of the main ones who helped make the transition of our Microsoft events to these digital events over the last year. And so, it's important to think about how might an event serve your company. Now, let me pause for a second and grab my glasses because I see a question. I'm excited about a question. I like questions. These are great options. Can I clarify something? Are standard meeting options going away and will be moved to webcast or live events in the future? So standard meeting options aren't going away. Oh, hi, Nick. You're out there. Thank you. Thank you for answering that for me. Although I was excited by a question. But yeah, no, standard meeting options are not going away. We're adding capabilities to standard meetings that makes them better for webinars. Yes, so we're basically adding more immersive features to the Teams meeting and adding the ability to require registration, and that's what creates a webinar. As we go forward, you'll see on our roadmap also that we'll be adding other features to the Teams meeting and the webinar scenario, like custom branding and embeddability. And there's a bunch of features that folks have asked for already in our webinars that we're now working on as fast follow. Now, live events will still remain so that if you want to do that more formal structured event, that is it will be available to you. And it's very appropriate in some places. And Teams meetings, webinars, and live events can all be broadcast over the internet, like to YouTube or LinkedIn or Facebook, should you so choose. And that's for someone like Nick, who contributed greatly to this content that I'm sharing with you right now. And other virtual event producers like myself are really helpful because we use third-party tools like something called OBS or StreamYard to broadcast things more, on these other platforms. So we're just trying to make it easier to do more, right, at the end of the day. And I think that that's really the main focus. So if you want to think about doing a virtual event in your own organization, I encourage you to come here and take a look at this content, right? So we've broken it down by role. And if you're an IT professional out there, why it's really important that you review this section where you're able to take a look at the types of policies and capabilities you need to do from an IT pro perspective in your tenant and also on your network to make sure that you have the proper bandwidth and everything to do a really, really big, large scale event. If you're doing a training with 400 or 500 people, why that pressure on your network is much less, and there's much less to do. It can be very simple, kind of click and go. But I always want folks to do that. And I actually encourage everyone to read the organizers and producers sections, because one of the challenges that we're going to have as we deal with hybrid work is that it requires something different from each of the roles in your organization. And oftentimes these people in your organization still may not talk as much as you might like. So to create a hybrid work environment and to improve collaboration, we have to become more collaborative. That means leaning in. If you're a business user, leaning in with your IT professionals. And if you're an IT professional, reaching out and creating a standard rhythm and a deeper relationship with your business users so that you're really trying to work on this return to work playbook together. Right? And you can use events as a way of bringing folks together. And the way we've written this content takes that into account. Now, the full playbook can be downloaded. It's got all of the content for all of the roles, and it can be downloaded. And now we've also launched our advanced production playbook, which talks about streaming to those third-party platforms, like I mentioned. And we have a community. You have questions about this? Bring them to us. Nick and other people like myself are out there, making sure to answer those questions. My team runs the virtual event communities, both the internal one at Microsoft and this public one. And so we're always there to help you figure out how to leverage immersive meetings, webinars, and digital events and into your return to work playbook, into your hybrid work playbook. And we really feel like it's important because one thing we've heard from organizations around the world is that communication now more than ever is essential. So using events and using these meeting capabilities to be able to share information on a regular and consistent basis and in a way that people can engage with, live or get on demand is really important, and hence streams work that's going on, the move of all the video assets to OneDrive and SharePoint. There's a lot of things that are going on to really improve the discoverability of video as a file type in Microsoft 365. If you're not leveraging Stream today, I highly encourage you to think about how to Stream and play a role in what you're doing from a hybrid work perspective. Now, there's some other things that are available here that I want to make sure to cover. So up here at the top, I encourage you to go and take a look at the solutions area. And for those of you, I'm going to actually start with maybe the most geeky of it, but this is a business user, and IT professional resource. In Microsoft Teams, there are so many ways to improve the experience and to extend it. The word extensibility is usually reserved for developers, but not anymore, right? This is something that all of us can embrace and do. And what we've tried to do here is put together snippets into a gallery that allows you to find ways to change and augment the experience in Microsoft Teams and in other applications with these little bits of code. And I'll tell you that, back long ago, this is actually how I started writing code and developing things. It's taken me a long time to embrace the identity of being a developer, but I actually am. And I may not be a developer for a living every day like some of my friends, but being able to take these kinds of snippets, tweak them, and put them into my implementation to make the user experience better is something that I've always had to do. And many IT professionals are kind of that hybrid person, right? You're an IT professional, but you also have to write PowerShell scripts and do things like this so that you can really achieve the objectives of what people are asking you for. If you're a business user, you may not do this very often, but if you're interested in learning, if this is a moment for you to expand your career, then this sort of thing is very important because you can learn from these examples, reverse engineering and kind of reading these code snippets so that you can begin to understand some of the concepts that you can learn in some of our online training on Microsoft Learn. If you're not enjoying what you're doing right now in your particular role, take a beat. Take a beat and look around and think about what else you might want to do because the industry needs you. The industry needs business users who can move into the service adoption specialist or IT professional area. It needs IT professionals who understand adoption and broader policy. We need tremendously more virtual event producers. Like there's so many areas that you can improve upon. And so this looks like, okay, this is something that may not impact me or matter very much, but it can if you use it as a career development tool. So not only can it improve the experience of your users, but it can improve your particular career as well. So one of the things I'm excited about here in this is that we have organized it by the types of applications that are available. So are we changing the document experience, the conversation experience, something with regard to our SharePoint portals or search? And we've also aligned all of these snippets by scenario. And this is something you're going to continue to see throughout the site and the tools and the way that we're approaching hybrid work, right? For instance, these are tools, document management, the project finder, and especially time and expense submission that are most relevant in professional services. It doesn't mean you can't use them in other industries, but we have to find some way to categorize these things, right? You also have banking and financial services and other, the components that can be installed directly in Teams that can help with these particular scenarios. We're going to be integrating this all in together, the content, the tooling, and some of our best practices in one sheets over the course of the next 6 months, the rest of this calendar year. And that will be, like version 3 of adoption.microsoft.com. But all of this is available today in education. And then, of course, we have some that are more cross-industry as well. So employee check-in, a meeting manager, employee onboarding is a wonderful solution and a very important component of what we need to be thinking about today in terms of how are we onboarding new employees in our organization, right? And so Microsoft Teams and Microsoft 365 has the capability to help you with this with bots and personal tabs and different task modules. These solutions really focus on this whole new employee onboarding accelerator. And you really want to help people understand their new roles as they are coming into the organization. Now, I've also seen people take this. This is a NEO solution, so new employee onboarding. But what if you just change the name of it, right? The return to work, the return to workplace solution. You can use these solutions for anything you want. And this is the beauty of our open source solutions. You can change the names, you can change the list names, you can extend it. If you have SharePoint as framework developers in your organization or you're one yourself, you can make changes to the solution. And all of this is open source. And so whether it's this or our Champions Management Platform or Microsoft 365 Learning Pathways, all three of them can be edited and configured for your particular organization. It's very, very important. Hang on one second. Yeah. Okay, you guys are chatting in Teams. Yeah.
I got it.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Nick. All right, that's great. So when you see solutions being released by Microsoft, like this, like new employee onboarding, think about how this kind of scenario could work in your organization, right? What if as you are doing the return to work planning and what your organization's life is going to be like over the next 6 months and then the next year and then the next 3, right? How are you going to support employees changing roles, changing facilities, being remote? How are you going to drive their learning and engagement over time, right? You can do that with this NEO solution. And then as we continue to release and make available Microsoft Viva, that can work as well. Viva is not as configurable in this sense. It's not intended to be. It's intended to be this first-party experience that brings to you the wealth and catalog of, for instance, LinkedIn learning experiences and what have you. Obviously, Viva Connections is because it's bringing SharePoint into Teams in many respects and then adding a great deal of features around that. But in terms of actually tailoring an experience for your employees, you will still need to use solutions like Learning Pathways or our new employee onboarding solution and bring those things together. And we have workshops about this, and we can help you with that. But I just really want to plant the seed of how important this is. And now I also want to flip over to another thing here. One moment. Oh, glasses are needed again. To this. Okay. So now I'm in my demonstration tenant here in the community, and I wanted to talk a little bit about that journey of employee learning, because as Microsoft, we release things, and then some of us, we have to kind of navigate it for our customers. So there is what I call a good, better, best model of employee learning tools right now that are all going to integrate together. Myself and my friend, my colleagues head over in the SharePoint engineering team. The three of us work very closely with the Viva Learning folks. Viva Learning is amazing capability to bring LinkedIn learning content and more, Microsoft content, etc., into your environment, and also make a connection to your learning management system if you have one. It's a first-party experience right inside of Teams. It's just beautiful. But one of the things that it won't have yet, although it will in the future, is what we call the custom playlist. Microsoft 365 Learning Pathways has been in market for some time. It's our solution for bringing end user training right inside of Teams. It lives as a SharePoint site with the web part in your organization. It can be pinned anywhere. And what we found with all of the thousands of customers that are using it is that people, while this Get Started app, which is free and available today as an app template, is good, and it brings this information, directly, this training directly into Teams. What people really want to do is they really want to take this web part that exists. Let me open this up in another window and put it elsewhere, because you probably already have a training portal, right? And so you can do that. This web part, once it's installed, is available throughout your SharePoint installation and can be dropped onto any page. Also, one of the core things that we do in Learning Pathways is we allow for people to create their own playlists. And actually, that is the #1 playlist that is viewed through Learning Pathways across the millions of folks who are using this, because you may not want to just talk about OneDrive the way we talk about it. You may want to build a playlist of assets that already exist for you around, requesting a new computer or new employee onboarding, like I was talking about before, or other scenarios in your environment. And Microsoft 365 Learning Pathways will let you do this. Right now, what we're doing is we're taking Learning Pathways and all the playlists and content and the SharePoint integration and integrating it with Microsoft Viva Learning. So that's so the work that you put into Learning Pathways now, or you may already have put in, will port over to Viva Learning over the course of time. Right out of the gate, Viva Learning will have just the kind of the core corporate content, but this integration between SharePoint and Learning Pathways is what we're working on behind the scenes. And so, very, very important to be able to do that. Now, I'm just going to go back to onadoption.microsoft.com. Oops, did I do that right? Yes, I did. Okay. This is our page about Learning Pathways, and a little bit down here, this is the app. This is the Get Started app template that will allow you to pull Learning Pathways here into Teams. And the thing I like about this, frankly, is that I can configure these tabs. Maybe in your organization, you're not using OneDrive, you're using something else. You can remove this page. You can replace it with some other page from your intranet. These other sites here are just examples of other intranet sites. And so this Get Started works in a similar way to Viva Connections in terms of bringing those SharePoint capabilities into Teams. The advantage of Viva Connections, however, is that you have that additional flyout menu. You don't lose the navigation, which you do to some extent here in any of these app templates. But the advantage of bringing it right in here and being able to see it and being able to control and drive the themes or messages. I have a lot of organizations right now that are making pages about meeting experiences and putting in information about their own policies and doing that in Learning Pathways. So I just really want to land the point that you can use Learning Pathways today. It's free. You can download it. It's free. There's no additional charge for it. You can build your muscle at helping people make this transition and use the services more effectively and efficiently. And then as you continue on this employee experience journey, you can leverage Microsoft Viva and our other tools to continue your investment in that area. And Viva Connections, topics, and all of that is going to be so important. And it does require some preparation work, Viva Connections, making sure your home experience is properly configured. But there's a good, better, best model. This is a journey. It's not going to be done. It's things that we can continue to improve on, especially as we keep getting feedback from our employees about what they need, about what's working, and what we need to change to continue to support them during this time. So, I really just wanted to make sure that you know that we're here to help you. The tools are available. You can get information from the folks you have there in your region or our core website. And now let me go back here really quickly to the deck. I see my little time check. Thank you very much. Now let's reshare and go over here. So, the research is out there. I am going to resume from here, and now let me locate the slide I really want to be on. The research is out there to support some of this new thinking. Our features are going to be there. There's several other slides in this deck, which I'll share with you on, for instance, external collaboration or, working smarter and making sure to, use tasks and teams, things of that nature. But nonetheless, at the end of the day, it's really going to be about us and about how we focus on the work that we're doing together. This has been an incredibly stressful time for many people. There are fundamental changes in our work worlds and in society in general that we are having to navigate. And this impacts us all on a personal and professional level. But we can do this together. Technology can be a differentiator for your organization and for you individually. It's a fantastic career path, and I'm very grateful to work for a company like Microsoft where I did not have to worry about my job over the course of this time. We can use technology to make companies stronger so that they too can participate in the work that we have to do to achieve economic recovery, meet our customers' needs more effectively, and deal with competitive threats more directly. So, it's always a pleasure to come and talk to folks. This is my favorite topic. So one of them anyway, so I could talk about it for a really long time. I will pause now and happily answer any questions that anyone has, or maybe my moderators have, something that they would like me to cover that I did not. But I just really want you to know that we here at Microsoft are really here for you. It's not some marketing message. We're actually invested in your success, and certainly my team and I are, and Nick and Michelle and other folks out here. So, leverage us, use us. We are here to be at your service, and we're happy because we know that we're really better together. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Karuana.
You're welcome.
I think let's go ahead. If there's any questions, feel free to shout it out. I don't see any in the chat, but also let's get on camera. Let's do, a together mode shot. I think that would be really fun.
Oh, that would be great. Going to stop presenting. There we go. Hopefully that has happened. There we go. Here it is. Stop. Yes, there we go. Now I can stop presenting and we can do something fun. Hello, everyone. Well, I see a few familiar faces out there. That's awesome.
I can only hold my stomach in so long, Michelle.
Come on, Nick, you can do it.
That's so funny. Hey, Joel. Waving.
Awesome.
Great to see you, Cara.
What did you say? I didn't hear you.
Great to see you.
Oh, it's nice
Great
to see you.
as always.
Thank you. I just try to pull together what I would want to hear if I was in the audience. I do my best. There's always a lot of information, but just trying to keep it grounded. Did you get our together mugshot, Michelle? Did you actually switch it? Because I didn't see you switch it.
Yep, I sure did.
Okay, good.
I think there's more people. We've got, I think, a few seats left. I think this is a maximum of 50. I know we have almost 120 in the meeting right now.
That's great. Well, I love user groups and I love coming and doing these things. And there you go. And I'm just really happy, to be here. I really miss doing these things in person a lot. So.
Oh, that's a good one too.
I like that.
There we go.
Raving. I see somebody with their wave down there. Yeah. This is awesome. Well, happy Friday to all of you. I'm really glad to have been here. And am I the end, Melissa? What's next?
Nope. Actually, we now will continue with our sessions. We've got 5 tracks. And so we've got,
yes, of course.
whatever track you want to be in. I'll go ahead actually and put in the schedule so everyone can continue on with their conference. We've got, so many sessions left, so stick around. And then, of course, at the end, we will have a survey for everyone to take, and we've got some prizes that will be given away. So let me go ahead and put that in our chat, and go ahead and open up the session that you'd like to attend, and we have some join links for you.
Well, have a great time. That's wonderful. I'm sorry, I forgot the time zone difference and my apologies. I forgot your schedule. But these are the fun things to do. Go have some fun, learn some stuff. And the survey is always really important. As event organizers, we really need to know what you think. So
That's right.
have
Appreciate
fun.
it.
Thank
Okay,
you, Melissa.
thank you.
I'm out. I'll see you later.
Okay, appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye-bye.